Before we get started, I just want to take a minute to remind everybody how special each and every one of you is. You're a unique beauty, unlike any other, and I love you. Okay, I think we've got everything set up here. Drinks, food, and especially those snacks. I even made sure to get all of your favorites because, hey, that's what friends do. I can see you've already eaten half of them. I've got even more downstairs in the snack cupboard, by the way. You know where it is. You've been over to my house like a million times. Anyway, now our sleepover can finally begin. So, before we watch a movie and snuggle or anything, I mean, hey, if you're up to it, that is. Just as best friends snuggling. But anyway, what I'm getting at here is I was wondering if you could help me out with something first. See, I've been writing this story, right? And I was wondering if you could sort of give me your feedback. Well, it's still in the early stages. It's more of an outline, really. But I was thinking I could quickly run you through the main points and you could tell me your thoughts. Would that be all right with you? Great. That's great. I'm so glad to hear it. Okay, so where do I even begin? Well, first of all, I guess I should give you the main character. So he's a boy with a hair color just like mine, and he lives in a house just like this one. And he has this friend of his with an eye color just like yours. In fact, that he loves very, very much. More than just as a friend. But this friend is very dense and never seems to realize it. In fact, the friend seems to be kind of slow to read between the lines just in general. Okay, so what do you think of my character so far? Nothing wrong with him so far, right? Right, right. Yeah, nothing is wrong with him. He didn't do anything wrong. Anyway, so this boy is madly in love with his friend. I'm talking about 200% crazy, head over heels, absolutely nuts in love. His friend is making him lose his marbles. But I mean, hey, hopefully that's not the only thing they'll make him lose. But it's really difficult when the friend is just so dense. Anyway, so the boy really loves his friend, but he can't confess. Because what if he gets rejected? He could never take that. It could even ruin their friendship, and that's maybe the one real emotional connection he has. Everything else feels so lifeless and fake to him. So he really doesn't have the heart to confess directly. There's just too much he could lose. So he tries to sort of feel things out, if you get what I'm saying. He tries to make little allusions here and there, trying to test his friend's reaction and see if it's okay to confess yet. Sometimes he even flirts in a sort of indirect way. But of course, his friend is completely, hopelessly clueless. So, this sort of method never really works for him. He even asks to snuggle a lot, and when he gets to, he always makes these flirty remarks like, "You're so good at snuggling. I wish I was the boyfriend of someone who snuggles like you." Or something like that. And the friend still doesn't get it, of course. The boy does everything. He even always makes sure to keep all of the friend's favorite snacks in his cupboard, but of course, the significance of this goes unnoticed, so now, what do you think of him so far? Right, so far so good. He didn't do anything wrong. There's nothing wrong with him trying to be indirect and test the waters. Nothing wrong with him trying to protect his relationship and his happiness. If anything, the friend should have really noticed his feelings. Am I right? But I'm still not done. Let me get on with the story. So the boy just really can't get enough of this friend. He wants to be romantic with them. He wishes they were a couple, but he just can't seize that dream, so he fantasizes a little bit. You know, innocent little fantasies. Everyone has them about their crush, right? And he does too. Innocent little fantasies like holding hands with them, hugging them, getting married to them. But that's still not enough, and he just wants to bring that fantasy a little bit into reality. So he takes a photo he has of himself and his friend together and edits it a bit to make it look like a wedding photo, wedding suit and all. And it makes him so happy to finally have a little bit of reality to his fantasy. You know, just something tangible. And he looks at that photo every single day, every night. He makes it his phone background and frames a copy and even sleeps next to it. It's the one thing that gives him peace of mind when he's usually always such an insomniac from not getting his happily ever after. But he can't just be satisfied with that. Not with just a photo. It's still missing something. Like, his fantasy just still isn't physical enough. He thinks of all the times he snuggled with his friend and how lovely it would be to feel like that, even when they weren't around to snuggle with. So he thinks about his friend's sweater and how if he wore that, it'd sort of feel like he was snuggling them, and he needs that. He needs that very much. So one day when his friend isn't paying attention, he ever so deftly swipes the sweater and replaces it with an identical one. He gets away with it completely and keeps a straight face the entire day, smiles to his friend as usual, laughs with them as usual. They don't suspect a thing, and he loves the sweater. He treasures it, cherishes it, goes to sleep wearing it every night, pretending like it's his friend all around him and not just their sweater. And I would ask you what you think about him right now, but I already know the answer. It's fine. He's fine. He didn't do anything wrong. He's just acting out of love. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with loving his friend who has your eye color, who has your hair color, who happens to love the exact same snacks as you. There's nothing wrong with the main character being a little romantic. But it's because he's so romantic that he just can't settle down. He can't be happy with just a sweater. As great as it is, it's still just a sweater, you know? It's not as great as the real thing. And he's just torn apart that he can't spend more time with his friend. Every second that he's away from them, it's just eating away at his insides little by little all the time. And he just can't take it anymore. He wants to spend every waking second with them, but obviously that's not possible. So he starts watching that friend. It starts with just watching them from behind the bushes at first, or maybe from behind a car or something. And he wakes up smiling every day, knowing that today he can see his friend again. Then after a while, he gets an idea. He sets up cameras, very hidden cameras, the kind you wouldn't notice. And he sets them up all over the places that his friend frequents, and of course, he especially makes sure to set up plenty in their room. So now he can watch them all the time. They probably wouldn't let him sleep over every night, right? That would be unreasonable, but now he can watch his friend fall asleep every single day. It's almost like they're a couple. But they're not. They're not a couple. He's a great character, right? Yeah, you don't have to say anything because I know he's fine. He's fine and he didn't do anything wrong. But, like I was saying, they're not a couple. And, in a way, watching his friend all the time through his cameras makes him extremely aware of that. Because yes, he can see all the things his friend does. And it also shows him all the attention that they get from other people, and he just feels so neglected. When he sees them sharing meals with each other, he thinks, that should be me sharing that meal with them. When he sees them laughing and joking with others, he thinks, that should be me. When he sees them talking to others, he thinks, that could be me. And he tries to keep it together. Of course he tries. He never does anything wrong. He tries to bury his feelings deep down within his heart because he doesn't want to hurt all those people coming in between him and his friend, even though he might. He doesn't want to be destructive or harmful, especially not around his sweetheart. But there's no way to keep a burden like this all inside, right? His jealousy, his resentment towards his feelings of neglect, they all get a bit more heated day after day, until inevitably, the entire thing boils over. So, he invites his friend over to a sleepover. Just like this one, in fact. And the one thing he wants more than anything is to just have his feelings accepted. But it's so hard to even ask for that. If he tries to be direct, he just stutters like a bumbling idiot. So he confesses about his feelings. He confesses about all the things he did, but he does it in a very indirect way. He confesses as if it was a character in his story that felt and did all these things and not himself. But he's worried. He's still so worried. What if he isn't accepted? What if they try to run away? So, he has a backup plan. He has some rope that he keeps under his bed. It looks just like my bed right here. And he drugged the snacks that his friend ate earlier. You know, the very same kind of snack that you helped yourself to just now. That way, they can't get away even if they wanted to. But why would they want to? He didn't do anything wrong. Don't you think so too? So what do you think the friend will do now? Huh? Are you gonna leave?